Support for Down and Dirty comes from listeners like you and the Tampa Bay Times. The Pulitzer Prize-winning newspaper is available around the Tampa Bay area and online at tampabay.com. Thanks to the Tampa Bay Times for their support.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, WMNF listeners. You are listening to Down and Dirty. This is your guest host, Gene Sudit. I am filling in while John Dingfelder, our normal host, is away, I believe, on vacation. He'll also be away next week, but he will return on July 10th, I believe that is, July 11th. I've been here before, but I'll just reintroduce myself again. My name is Gene Sudit. I am the assistant editor at La Gazzetta newspaper, which is your favorite 103-year-old trilingual newspaper based right out of Ybor City. Gary, actually, properly. I've been there for about 26 years, but a man who's been there much longer than I have, who is the third generation to own the paper. My employer and publisher of the newspaper, Patrick Mantega, is here in studio with me.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's see if that changes my paycheck at all this week. Also, in the host is local ne'er-do-well and advisor and consultant and pretty much anything you want him to be. Victor DeMaio, who is the owner of DeMaio and Associates. Thank you, Victor.
Thanks for having me back. We had a lot of good time last time we were here.
All right, so let's just dive right into it. There's a lot of stuff going on. We have a city council race that is going to be, I believe it was September 9th, I think is the election date. District 5 City Councilwoman Gwen Henderson passed away suddenly and unexpectedly a few weeks ago, and there is a special election for her seat. There are already 6 people who are announced, and there are a few who are still thinking about it. So we're going to sort of go through this list and see what we think people's chances are, what we know about the people. So I'm just going to run through the list real quick, and then we'll just have a little discussion. Juana, actually, you know what? Patrick, let me just turn it over to you. We got Juana Colbert. We have Ariel Amira Danley, who is the daughter of Gwen Henderson. Elvis Piggott, who has run for the office before. Tom Scott, who formerly held the office. Fran Tate, and Tom Scott was also a county commissioner. Fran Tate is a local activist, and Melanie Letitia Williams ran for office against Victor Christ, lost to him in the Republican primary a couple of years ago. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah.
Patrick, what are your thoughts on this race?
Well, it's a special election. The turnout's going to be probably very low. You're probably talking about 3,000-4,000 people maybe showing up for this election. Then you'll have a runoff afterwards, which will even be smaller. I would say that Tom Scott is probably the biggest name there. He should be considered a front runner. The issue is, of course, is that Tom's last few elections have not turned out well for him. Of course, he's run county-wide in a lot of those, and it's hard if you're African-American to run for a county-wide seat. You don't see a lot of success in Hillsborough County when that happens. But he is well-known in that district. He has served on the city council race, and he can argue that he can hit the ground running and know what he's doing. I talked to Elvis Piggott yesterday. Elvis Piggott wants to go by the petition route instead of paying, I think it's $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000 to be able to run. When you qualify, you can get petitions. And this race has a pretty low number that you need. It's 1,008 petitions get you in to qualify for this race. Elvis has run before for county commission, school board, and did not do well. But he's older and has spread his wings a little bit more and knows a few more people and might have a better shot this time. Fran Tate's a community activist. She's been out there a lot. You see her at city council frequently. She's very involved in the CRA out there and has her own following. Gwen Henderson's daughter is a unique candidate. Danley, she's been a makeup artist. She's done some writing. She was involved with her mother's bookstore. There could be a sympathy vote there, but they don't share the same name, so you'd have to communicate to voters your relationship. And so we'll see what happens there. And then we have Melanie Williams, retired Army colonel. I don't know if she's got a shot here, but it's a small race, and so if you work hard, maybe you get the votes. The one that isn't signed up yet that I think needs to be talked about is Orlando Goods. Mm-hmm. He held the seat before Henderson won it from him, and he has a good following out there. The other issue, if Orlando Goods gets in, the mayor spent a tremendous amount of money and effort to defeat him last time, and so I wonder if he were to get in, does she end up trying to find some people to spend money in that race and who they would end up picking to be their person. Henderson was a very supportive of the mayor's agenda and probably the most supportive on city council, and so it's a big hole for the mayor to have lost her support on city council. So, that's where I see it. What do you think, Victor?
I agree 100%. I like Orlando a lot. He was a solid ally on the city council. He was attacked by the mayor. Actually, she picked about 4 other candidates to go after the incumbents and lost all those. But she was successful in this particular race because, they threw a lot of dirt at it and spent a lot of money, like you said, and the African American community in the east part of the city voted for Orlando, despite the fact that he had what seems to be a trumped up charge. Because at the end of the day, when he finally got to go before a judge after the election's over, the judge threw everything out.
Right.
So it's one thing to accuse somebody of something, and then do all kinds of mailers about it. But then the sad part about that is in politics is that, when you finally get to defend yourself fairly, and they paid the lady off who made the accusation a couple $100,000 without any approval by city council, which I find astounding. The mayor and the city attorney approved that $200,000 payoff. For signing
it was called a settlement.
Oh, yeah. Okay, excuse me.
You can't call it a payoff.
I'm being politically incorrect here.
But that's an interesting thing as far as the mayor's influence in that race, because there's been a few races recently. The Janet Cruz race. There was with Hertag, where that money's backfired. I don't see another name that could be thrown up in there. So there's going to have to either be a gamble on who the mayor gets behind.
Right, the Blake Casper versus Bill Carlson race. They threw money in there. There's all those other races.
God bless Elvis Piggott, and I think maybe one other person might be considering it. But I just I don't see going the petition route as a good use of your resources. If you can get to 1,000 people to sign, maybe you can get 1,000 people to donate. He's never really been a good fundraiser. So I don't know who the mayor would get behind. Maybe the mayor gets behind Gwen Henderson's daughter. But is Gwen Henderson's daughter sort of a Johnny-come-lately? I know that she's had her residence here, but I don't know that she's necessarily been here. Not terribly well known in the community. So I wonder how the mayor and that cabal, if you will, would get behind. What do you think, Victor?
I don't know what the cabal is going to do yet. I think they're going to just wait and see. But frankly, I worked with her during the Kamala Harris campaign. She came in from L.A. and worked the campaign from the National Party standpoint. And but she's not technically from here. I mean, she might have used her mom's address for voting and stuff. Like a lot of kids do when they go away to college. They'll use their mom and dad's address and keep it. Right. But, and then her mom was a member of a sorority. I don't know if those ladies get behind her. But the number figure, and Patrick and I have talked about this, we've all talked about it, is the turnout for a city election is pathetic. It's 8 to 10 to 11%, 8%. I mean, this is the only race in town. There's no mayor's race driving turnout. There's no other race driving turnout. This is the only race in town. This is all about grassroots, mail, it's really, forget mail, I mean, knocking on doors. I mean, this is all, and with all these people running, you can flip a coin maybe and figure out, who's going to get the most votes.
Well, let's play this out as far as who's going to be voting in that race, because it's an East Tampa known race, but it also includes Ybor City and parts of downtown.
Right.
So maybe money goes there to try to get someone. Maybe, these are all African-American candidates. There's a white candidate who's considering running, don't know how serious it is, but Grant Mellick, Patrick wrote about in La Gazzetta last week, is considering a run, who's been active in the Ybor community. And perhaps, in my high school, we were 50% white, 50% black in New Jersey. And there would only ever be one black girl who would run for homecoming queen, a lot of white girls. And black girl always won because you divided that vote up. So maybe a white candidate could get in there and steal a spot in the one or two. Now, traditionally, it's been taboo for a white person to run in that race.
Right.
But this might be the opportunity. Pat, what do you think?
In a small race, everything goes. Anything goes. And like I said, 3,000 people, 1,500 takes it outright. Probably 1,000 gets you into the runoff. That ain't a whole lot of votes to get. I mean, you can go see those people. You can go mow their yards trying to get them to vote for you. But I have to say, none of these people have really raised any money in the past.
Right.
None of these candidates have been big fundraisers. Even Tom Scott's not been a big fundraiser. Probably the best fundraiser out of the group is one who hasn't jumped in yet, and that would be Orlando Goods.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's a short race. It's like I said, I don't know if the mayor's going to get involved in this or any big money's going to get involved in this. I would think that would happen if Goods runs, because I don't think the mayor wants Orlando Goods to sit on city council no matter what. He was very tough on her agenda and pushed back pretty hard on it, and I just don't think she wants him back on board. She did a lot to make sure he left the city council.
Sadly, his biggest sin was, God forbid, he questioned the mayor and what she was doing, and even with the police chief, and he was a former cop. I'll never forget that city council meeting, and there was 8 rows of uniformed officers staring down the city council because she wanted the what was it, the alcoholic drunk that ended up falling off a right, and her husband's still the head of code enforcement, but we won't go there. But the fact of the matter is, yes, I don't think money can buy this race. I really think it's going to be, and the other thing you wrote about, which is at La Gazzetta, which was really interesting to me, was that when we talked about the white precincts versus the black precincts, which is downtown, Tampa Heights, those sections were really the ones that flipped the race, I think, against Orlando because of the false accusations.
Henderson won the precincts on the western edge of the district, which were mostly white, and a little bit more wealthy, and Orlando won the traditional black precincts, and so. It is interesting to see if that group will still come out. Like I said, I just don't know who's going to come out for this election.
Exactly.
And that's going to make the big deal here.
Right.
Very good. All right. So, again, you were listening to Down and Dirty. I am Gene Sudit, filling in for John Dingfelder. If you want to call in and give your opinion or ask us any questions or just tell us how great we're doing, you can give us a call at 813-239-9663. Again, that studio number is 813-239-9663. Or drop us an email at dj@wmnf.org. That is dj@wmnf.org. All right, so staying in the theme of city politics, we have a mayor's race that will be coming up in the not too distant future. There are, of course, a few names that are being floated right now. Most prominently, Bob Buckhorn, who has announced his intention. I think he's fully announced it now.
Yes.
And Bill Carlson, city council person. And then there are maybe a few other names. Patrick, who else might be thinking about diving into this race?
Well, I think the big name that has yet to announce and yet to make a decision is our property appraiser, Bob Enriquez. Coach Bob Enriquez has been a fixture in Tampa politics for a long time. He served in that office. He served as a state rep. And he's well known and well liked. And I think he's very close to maybe making a decision. Bill Carlson seems to be there and wanting to run. I guess the interesting thing about the mayor's race, which is still a ways away, is that our current mayor has just blatantly decided that she's backing Bob Buckhorn, and she's going to use city resources to do it. We had a naming this week of the boathouse at Julian Lane Park after Bob Buckhorn. So we spent a lot of taxpayer money to put his name in big letters. They're huge letters, and it's only a 2-story building. So I mean, it's
it's huge.
and it's just advertising. I mean, and who does that? He's announced for election,
right.
And then who names something, a building after somebody while they're running for office?
And they're running.
You do this after the fact. I mean, the city sent out this press release about all the people that have, all the mayors that had things named after, but all of them were at the end of their political careers.
Right.
They were done and over with.
Right.
And a lot of those things that were named were already were in part of construction. In this case, we had to tear down a name, put up a name, and the city's our taxpayer money has already been used for years now to beat up on people like Bill Carlson, the other city council members that the mayor doesn't like, and so. I'm happy to have candidates run. I just don't want taxpayer money to be used to put the finger on the scales here.
Exactly.
And if Bob wants to run, great. But I don't need the city's communications department backing him, and I don't need the mayor spending taxpayer money to put names up on buildings for him. And so, I just find it a little bit gross that we're operating this way this early.
Yeah, and I think that sort of the theme when Mayor Castor got in was that it would be a continuation of the Bob Buckhorn administration, which good or bad, that's essentially what it was. So now the talk, the scuttlebutt is that now you're going to have a continuation of the Castor administration of Buckhorn. Bob Buckhorn is certainly a different person than Jane Castor in almost every way I can think of, as far as mannerisms and leadership style, personality, everything like that. So not a judge on his character, but Victor, what are your thoughts as far as the city being involved and chances for someone like a Bob Enriquez who hasn't announced, but he has great creds as a graduate from a fine
Princeton
New Jersey
University.
School.
And coached Tampa Catholic for many, many years. No, Coach would be a very interesting candidate. I can, being in politics like all of us have been for a lot of years. You can understand. The logic behind Buckhorn getting out early, being the heir apparent, trying to raise money like there's no tomorrow. The sheriff did that recently when she ran for re-election, Sheriff Cronster. But the fact of the matter is, and what's the overriding fact here is there's no incumbent running. And usually when that happens, after a term limit, everybody jumps in. It's a free-for-all. So Buckhorn's trying to obviously position himself as the heir apparent, and that's it's going to be interesting. But the problem is, when you start so early, then you become, then you're on this pedestal. And then, everybody else gets to chip away, and knock you down. I mean, Coach Enriquez does have a unique story. He's done an outstanding job. He has 4 terms, state rep, 4-term now, property appraiser. He's actually reduced his budget, reduced his staff. The exact opposite of what Jane Castor and Buckhorn has done with the city.
Well, aside from
he has a good story to tell, and his great grandfather was the last mayor of West Tampa. I mean,
but as you said, that with the races starting this early, it certainly it doesn't hurt Bill Carlson to have his name out there, good or bad. There's no such thing as bad publicity,
right? With
the exception of people like Wander Franco, there can be bad publicity, but
Bill's sitting in office. He has a platform. He can talk.
And Bill, yeah, exactly. So Bill is the foil to Bob Buckhorn also.
And Jane Castor.
And Jane Castor. So certainly the longer that goes on, the more that they go after Bill, which they have certainly with city money and other ways, that keeps him certainly an important person in that race. So again, feel free to call in the station number. We're here with Patrick Manteiga, the editor and publisher of La Gazette newspaper, and Victor DeMaio of DeMaio and Associates, local consultant and jack of all trades. You can give us a call, 813-239-9663, 813-239-9663, or email us at dj@wmnf.org. Okay, so let's move on to a recent discussion about the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays have been playing their home games at George Steinbrenner Field due to the hurricane damage of Tropicana Field. They are only a half game out of first place in the American League East. They are the hottest team in baseball right now. And so now they're having discussions with the Major League Baseball about where would they play their home playoff games. Baseball does not want a playoff game of 10,000 people. They want more visibility. So, Victor, I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts on where they could go?
Well, maybe Patrick could help me out a bit here because he sits on the Sports Authority, and what's interesting to me is that baseball team that
the Bananas,
the Bananas, which I'd never heard of till recently, and then they were on 60 Minutes. I mean, they're a hilarious team. The story about that is the Bananas were able to play a baseball game inside
Raymond James
Stadium. Yeah. So is it how do I say it? Was it a legitimate size-wise?
So we ended up with the Savannah Bananas did a great job. We were the first stadium they played in that was designed for football. It was a great sellout crowd for them, but you ended up with an extremely, extremely short right field and extremely long left field. I don't think baseball would be happy with that. I think it's fine for a game like the Bananas were playing, which wasn't...
or you have to have only right-handers.
Which didn't follow all the rules. But where do they go? And so baseball's been talking about perhaps Houston, perhaps Atlanta. But I would much rather see him in Miami.
Yeah, Miami is the most logical choice if you can't play in Tampa Stadium. I said that half jokingly. I worked with Sunshine Sports Network when they first went on the air. We covered the Rays. I was, as a broadcaster and a producer. So it's a very big deal. I'm very happy. Like you wouldn't believe that Sternberg's finally cracked the door open for somebody to buy the team. He was asking $2.8 billion, and now I think they're settling for $1.7. I think is the last figure. So that's elated. And then the back and forth between Tampa or St. Pete, who's going to own the team, where are they going to play? I think Tampa's back in the picture. Again, I was very disappointed in the last two mayors. Just pathetic leadership on working to get a team here in Tampa, because I think where there's a will, there's a way, and they could have worked it out.
And just to be devil's advocate, I'm not going to put this 100% on mayors, because the Rays have not been very good as far as their presence.
Oh, absolutely.
With governments.
No, I agree.
I think they sort of just thought, hey, we're the Rays and we can get this done.
Right.
So their ability to negotiate certainly hasn't been fantastic.
But we're not L.A., and you got to have the government's got to pay something. Right. Whatever that is, it's going to be something.
So we got a caller, Ann. Wants to talk about Buckhorn and the downtown library. And you are on the air.
I kind of wanted your take as well. I worked at the downtown library for many years, and I was no longer there at the time. But from what I read in the papers and the news, it seemed to be that when Buckhorn was in office, he really pushed the deal that in effect had half the downtown library torn down, the walkway that connected the library with the Performing Arts Center, the whole stretch there that ran from the Tampa Museum to the city parking, to the library, to the Performing Arts, all that was completely disrupted and redone so that a private developer could stick a high high-rise condo right there on what had been city property next to the river. Does my take sound familiar? Or
absolutely, it was controversial. It was controversial because it required the realignment of some city streets. It required a lot of tear up of public infrastructure. And it was also putting this private building right on the water in an area where the public owned most of that stretch. Right. And it was for condos. And, it wasn't necessarily going to generate any money after it was built. Right. But at the time...
generate it for the private owner.
Well, yeah. But, at the time, I think that Buckhorn was looking at his mayoralship as being one that you would judge by the number of sky cranes that were in downtown Tampa, building the tall buildings. And a lot of people have been judging Mayor Castor's mayoralship by the same standard. Look how many tall buildings we're building. Right. I guess the question is how many more tall buildings do we want? And are we sick and tired of a bunch of tall buildings coming in here? And so I think really that's what's going to be the next election is going to be about. And projects like that condo project that Buckhorn pushed that did tear down parts of the library and made it a little bit more difficult to get from Poe Garage to Straz. That'll be part of his either his baggage or the things that he sells as a positive, and the citizens will have to decide whether they like it or not.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point you bring up, Patrick, as far as the impact where who's going to make money, because a lot of times when these projects are sold to the public, we're a little bit like Springfield on The Simpsons, where we're just this sounds great, monorail, that's a great idea. Whether it's when they built out the movie theater and then converted it to the workspace, and we're sold on this is going to be all these people are going to flow into Ybor, flow into the restaurants, and they're going to and what happened was they make themselves self-contained, and a lot of these high rises they have restaurants within them, and you don't necessarily see this outpouring of all these people who are frequenting the restaurants, adding money to it. It's adding to the tax dollars certainly if you own the place, but I don't know, as far as any more impact. But what are your thoughts, Victor?
Well, actually, having represented the Straz Center, I can tell you that Mayor Buckhorn was no friend of the Straz. I mean, this project, this dump in this big building, 10 feet outside the front door, this high-rise condo project, was, and a lot of mayors have their legacy projects. Sandy Freeman had the aquarium. They want to, like Patrick said, you're judged by how many cranes are flying around. So the Tampa Museum of Art, the Straz Center, were not happy to have this building there that could have been used for parking or people getting in and out of the Straz. So it makes it much more difficult. But, it's done, it's built. They're working it out. But the sad part is, it's just another building. And just in the last 48 hours, a listing came out nationally of the top, cities that are more people are moving out than moving in. And Tampa is ranked 16th in the country of more people moving out of Tampa than are coming in because there's no affordable housing that people can live in. And the housing here has just skyrocketed, the rents and costs and insurance and taxes. So it's a big problem for Tampa. I don't know if I don't hear solutions from people. These are things that, you've got to move from, are you for the big construction builder developers? Or are you going to be looking at the neighborhoods, which frankly, Pam Iorio was successful at being a neighborhood mayor as compared to, Dick Greco when that transition happened too. So we'll see.
Well, let's talk about that, because it's one of these things where we keep hearing affordable housing is the big issue.
Right.
But is it? It's an issue, but is it an issue that people vote on? I don't know that people vote on it. The people who own their houses already, the people who are already here paying taxes, I don't know that they're voting on it. So it's very difficult if you are trying to get that done, I would think, to try to get someone who's either already in office or running to successfully get there on that. Patrick?
Well, we just had an election in New York that seemed to have a lot to do with freezing rents and making things more affordable. And you had a groundswelling of a tremendous amount of people turning up in that election to vote and putting a candidate in that nobody thought would be there. And so, maybe affordable housing might be a way of driving people out to do this, but Tampa's got a different problem than New York. We do. And so, a lot of people who vote in our community are homeowners. And so when prices go up on their homes, it's actually a benefit to them. They're worth more than they were 5 years ago. And so when they go to sell their house and go retire in Portugal or wherever they want to go, they made more money by these property values increasing. And so, Florida's always had this pretty steady growth in property values. Buying property in the state of Florida has nobody's ever really lost on that. Until recently, where we've had some people buy too high, and now all of a sudden they're starting to worry that they're not. It's going to take a few years to get that back. So, at the moment, I haven't seen affordable housing play in the elections here, but maybe it's a new day. Maybe New York is a sign of things to come down the road, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I think one of the biggest issues is insurance. I mean, I've worked for the insurance commission office. My father sold insurance his whole life, and I can tell you the Republican-controlled legislature, the House is in, and even the governor have done absolutely nothing to solve the insurance problem. Insurance prices are skyrocketing. The only thing they did was if you get a claim, you can't sue your insurance company. So what's happening statewide, the insurance companies themselves, including Citizens, are only paying 50% of the claims. I mean, they're just denying the claims just outright for anything. The sun, the moon, the stars, whatever. So people they're starting to realize that, and if you want to sue them, you got to pay for the attorney. There's no come on the end, So it's extremely difficult to get insurance. And if you don't have insurance, guess what? You can't get a mortgage. If you can't get a mortgage because you don't have insurance, it's a double-edged sword. So when you talk about affordable housing, I think it affects even homeowners or people looking to buy a home, or people even and just because you live in an apartment don't mean that you're apartments.
Well, someone's going to pay,
right? Someone's going to pay, right? I mean,
the other thing is we haven't really dealt with what affordable housing looks like. When I was 18, I bought a mobile home. It was 54 feet long and 14 feet wide. It cost me $7,900 brand new and had wheels on it. And I lived there for a few years till I bought a double wide. Ooh. And then I bought a house.
Wow.
And so in the old days, affordable housing in the state of Florida was a mobile home.
Right.
Just about anybody could afford a single wide mobile home. And it gave you a place to live that was your own. And but today, because of our building standards, everything else, we have created a market where the first home you buy is expensive. We have a lot of building codes that are driving that up, and then we also have people who don't want to move into their first house. They want their first house to have granite countertops. They want their first house to have a garage. They want it to have a porch. They wanted to have all the amenities, and like I said, in the old days, your first home was a fixer-upper. It might not have been the best place in the world, but it was your first. Nowadays, there's somewhat of an entitlement to want very nice as you start off, and so it's made first-time homes just.
Right.
They really are second or third-time homes.
Right.
In the old days, they would have been.
Right. Yeah. I know Ed Taranchik led a lot of infill homes a few years back, and they were on small little 35, 40, 50-foot lots. And I talked to him because he ended up, you keep chasing because everything's going up. I mean, the cost of building 2x4s, lumber, plywood, all sheetrock, I mean, it's going up and up and up. So he said, we keep chasing this. We're trying to build affordable homes, but the costs go up. So we're chasing this number, and it became crazy. And he ended up not doing it.
Well, it's a completely ambiguous term. What does affordable mean? Affordable to who?
Right.
But even just to go back to what Patrick was saying before as being an issue in New York, New York's elections are different than they are here, and I believe that's I think it's called preferential choice, where you just have to come in first place. It's not about winning that majority.
And it's weird because if you lose, you can jump back in again. That's what Como did in 24 hours. He's back in as an independent, not on the Democratic Party ticket. So there's still going to be half a dozen people running for mayor of New York. And I was watching this morning in the news where the people that voted for this young gentleman that won were not the Wall Street billionaires in New York that have all the money. It's the people just below those guys, the worker bees, the people that have to live and work in New York and survive. What this guy's promising, free bus rides and affordable housing and all this stuff, if it's free, it's for me. And they just signed up and they voted, and that's what happened.
Well, I know a lot of those people who work in New York. They're called people from New Jersey.
Where you're from.
All right. So, again, you are listening to Down and Dirty on WMNF. I am Gene Sudit, filling in for John Dingfelder. I have Patrick Mantega and Victor DeMaio in studio. Feel free to give us a call at 813-239-9663. Again, that number is 813-239-9663, or you can email us at dj@wmnf.org. So continuing on with the Rays are also in the headlines for, possibly good for them, but not necessarily a great story. Wander Franco, their young phenom, who signed an 11-year, $180-some-odd million contract, was just convicted for sexual abuse of a 14-year-old when he was 21. He is 24 right now. He is in the Dominican Republic, and he has been sentenced, but had his sentence suspended.
Wow.
So he won't be serving any time. Essentially, it's a probation. Oddly enough, the mother of the girl who arranged for a lot of these encounters was sentenced to 10 years in jail. So certainly interesting as far as that goes. Victor?
Well, the question is, can he play baseball again? I think, to me, the first pop, and I don't know. I'm kind of torn there. I mean, growing up covering sports, gambling, for example, was a no-no. And now you see NFL's, hockey. You name the sport, baseball. FanDuel is like, every sporting option is out there. So, and even was it Johnny Bench? Is kind of like finally from the Reds. They're going to say Pete Rose. Excuse me. Yeah. So there's things that have changed in sports a lot.
Right.
So will they accept him as another player?
The public has a stomach for certain things. Now, there are some things where you didn't know if they did. Let's take Michael Vick, for example, had the dog fighting people. They probably like dogs more than people, but he still got that chance.
But he's an announcer on the national.
I understand that he's been forgiven, right?
Yeah, but he did play afterwards.
He played afterwards,
and he played.
There's Adrian Peterson, Ray Rice, different guys who beat up on women who got a chance. Now,
but pedophilia might
is
be
there
a
a
different
stomach
issue.
for pedophilia? Right. So that swinging back to the Rays on that is that he, according to Wander Franco's attorney, is not likely to get a visa again to come back to the United States. Should that happen, he would remain on the restricted list of Major League Baseball, taking the Rays off the hook for that $181 million contract.
Because he's technically under contract for the Rays.
Yeah, but you have almost everyone in baseball. Probably everyone has a clause in it about the I want to say integrity of the team, but integrity of the sport. And if you are on the restricted list, you are ineligible to receive your pay.
It's called a morals clause.
Morals clause, right? So certainly
Well, it's also interesting in the world we live in, where every immigrant is a drug dealer selling fentanyl and a horrible person as far as the Trump administration. So are they going to let this guy back in?
Yeah, right.
You got a record on this guy, and so you're going to let him back in, and yet you're not going to let somebody fleeing poverty and Haiti or some other place come in because
Dominican Republic.
It'd be an interesting test in humanity. All right, so we have Leela from Brandon calling in, and Leela wants to talk about the good old days of the Brandon 4th of July party. Leela, you are on the air.
The program. And to let you know, I appreciate what you guys talk about on this program. It's very important for our community.
Thank you.
Just wanted to invite you all to come to the 4th of July parade. The Dingfelder, I hope that you are in the parade for the preservation of the Mosley Homestead. And I just look forward to having all the people come out to the 68th annual 4th of July parade in Brandon. We have a new route with lots of plays. And if you are a participant in the parade, you will get some watermelon and lemonade.
Okay, watermelon.
Very nice.
That sounds cool.
All right.
I've been many times in that parade.
where does the parade go down? What road does it go down now?
Yeah, what it's doing is it's starting at Lumsden and Parsons, and then it's going down Vandenberg around the library that we could keep. That is a beautiful library on the lake, and it's going to round that Vandenberg and turn on Oakfield, and Music Showcase is hosting our judging booth for the float, which is wonderful because they do a lot with our music for our kids. And then it's going to go around to Eckensville, and it's going to end at the back of Clemens Kirsten, which is 180 parking spaces, which is wonderful that Dr. Armas contributed to the parade to allow us to in the parade there, so we avoid closing two intersections, the Kings Avenue, and we don't have to go through the public parking lot while the store is open.
Oh, that's
so
great.
Much safer and shaded route for our patrons.
The shade is invaluable for these parades.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
my
walked
God.
in that parade
I have
for it.
too.
It is.
It's brutal.
Shade, we need those $100,000 or the $1 million that we lost for planting the oak trees downtown because you guys got all the skyscrapers now. So we got to get that money back in place somehow because the skyscrapers are not going to give us shade. It's going to give us concrete. So it's real hot downtown now.
Well, Leila, we appreciate you giving us a call, and that will probably lead into a conversation that we're going to have in a second, which is about what 4th of July makes you think of. But we're going to take one more call, but we're going to talk about your memories here. What did you used to do 4th of July? And I'll give you a little story about my youth. 4th of July in New Jersey. But we are going to go to Mary Ann in Tampa. Mary Ann wants to talk about the New York candidate.
Hi, this is Mary Ann. I just wanted to say I just thought that your remark about, I don't know, kind of flippant that he promised a lot of things and people voted for him. The man did the work. He had a coalition of thousands of people that knocked on doors, over 1 million doors in New York. And I think that this is a blueprint for the Democratic Party if they want to win in the future. That's all I wanted to say.
It may be, and thank you for that call, Mary Ann. I don't know. I don't remember. Were one of us flipping about it? I don't.
Well, I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it was taken that way.
Yeah,
I don't think this Madami, am I pronouncing that correctly? You came out of nowhere. This guy was 1%.
Right.
He gets 42% of the vote against a powerful New Yorker, Como. The question is, what does it mean? Does it mean that this is the blueprint that you run on his issues, or is the blueprint that you run a 33-year-old against the old guy? I don't know what it means yet. I think it's going to take a while to digest. Anybody who says they do know what it means, I think, is trying to spin it to whatever they want it to be spun to.
Right.
And it is New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, New York City is not Georgia, it's not Florida, it's not these other places. So I don't know if that necessarily, if those issues work as well down here as they do up there. But, it's something that Democrats are going to have to take a look at. We're currently don't have any idea of what to do to fix our party. We don't know where to go. Nobody on the national, state, or local level has grabbed this bull by the horns. Nobody has got a program of saying we're going to do this, this, and this, and this to get back to be a party that has an effect here in the state of Florida. And so, we're happy if somebody's got a playbook that'll work.
So maybe Lee in Tarpon has an idea, because Lee in Tarpon is calling about the governor's race. Lee, you are on the air.
Hi, it's Peter.
Oh, well, hey, Peter.
No problem. So, I want to get your take on the governor's race. My take is, as a longtime Democrat, I'm more of a centrist, and I've been watching David Jolly the last, 8 years since Trump got in and his transformation, and I know he was a Republican, but at this point, I don't see any Democrats that's bringing forward the issues that he's talked about for years. And I think he is what we need to get back to, a central model. As a Democrats, we've got so many tents. We've got the gays, we got the the abortion, and we got all these different environmental and all these different segments. And in order to bring them all back, we have to get back to the common root of our working class people and getting things that help them move forward. And I think David Jolly has shown that he can do that. And I haven't seen any other Democrat, Nikki Fried, blew her chance when she was agricultural commissioner. She should have been going all over Florida talking to farmers and all these people and letting them know that we stand for them, but she flunked out on that. So I don't know any Democrat flag holder in the state that can carry the flag as well as David Jolly. So that's my take. I want to get your feedback.
I say amen to that.
Good. Yeah, very good, Leland.
You know, the problem we have here, it's funny because at my Hispanic Caucus dinner meeting last night, I had two friends come who were Republicans and switched parties to be Democrat. But, you know, I like David Jolly a lot. I like Jason Piso a lot. But what people don't understand is the way the Democrats are going to be able to claw back and win is in the middle. You know, there's always that 40% chance as a Republican if you are, and 40% as a Democrat, but it's that little 10% in the middle, that the MPAs, the independents, those are the guys you got to win an election. And David Jolly is still learning. He's still, I hate to say it, but he's still a rookie. And the nasty word that comes out of the New York race is socialist. This guy brands himself as a democratic socialist. And socialist, as a Cuban American myself, the socialista translates in Spanish to English to communist.
Well, Democrats have never been good at branding.
Right.
We, you know.
Exactly. And you're right. And that's a problem. This is a huge problem. Jolly is a middle of the road, moderate guy. He's not necessarily with the progressive wing. Jason Piso, same way. He had big fights with the progressive wing of the party. He got to the point where he's just quit the party because of it, and other reasons as well. But the fact of the matter is, we've got to figure that, as Democrats, we've got to figure that out. And it sends chills down my spine when because when you say socialist once, every TV, radio, newspaper keeps calling this guy the socialist Democrat, socialist, and like. Not every Democrat's a socialist
right,
Democrat. I'm like this guy that just phoned in. I'm a moderate, middle of the road kind of guy.
But going back to David Jolly, and I think that there's sort of a thought, there's a parallel between he and Charlie Crist, who was our Republican governor, lost as a Democrat running. I don't see them as necessarily the same person. I don't know who else is really a viable choice. Patrick, what are your thoughts?
Well, that's just it. I mean, David Jolly raised his hand when somebody said we have a mission that is likely not to be successful. It's a suicide mission. This guy raised his hand and said, I'll do it. And so I don't know who else is going to do this. It's tough running statewide. The Democratic Party doesn't have a structure to fit yourself into at the moment. It's going to be tough to attract national dollars because, of course, you're going to have to show that you're close in polls. And while we're not that far off in the polls, the problem is that as Democrats, we've not been able to make up the 1 or 2% off we've been in the past.
Right.
And now we're 6 or 7% off.
Right.
And so to overcome that is going to require Floridians to look for something different than what they've been looking for. You know, maybe he can hang on to the issue of insurance and the high cost of utilities and talk about really trying to bring the cost to consumers down in a way that the Republicans haven't been able to do.
Correct.
And to Victor's point, that middle of the road person possibly, if you take every issue on the fringe, you're going to lose people on both sides.
Right.
And we want to take up every issue. When I say we as a Democrat, we take up every issue that we can, but we don't focus on the issues that are going to get you elected. Do the crazy stuff after you get elected. Get in office first, and we don't think about that.
And even Republicans are tired of the culture wars. You know, the Republicans are all about culture wars.
But they're not tired of winning.
No, that's true. But the fact of the matter is, when the Democrats had 1.5 million more voters than Republicans, the Republicans found a way to win the governor's mansion, the House, the Senate, the cabinet. So all the Democrats I talked to with their heads down, they're like, hey, guys, we had the majority and they won. So don't be discouraged because they have 1 million more voters.
But even with just our callers today, you had one person who says, oh, yeah, I really love Madami. They're going to be the future of the party. Then you got the other person talking about, I really like the centristness of David Jolly.
Correct.
And so the real issue is that can Democrats unite after a primary and vote in unison and not stay home and sulk about their loss of their progressive wing or loss of the centrist wing. And that's why we keep failing is we just can't unite after.
Well, because on the Republican side, you're going to have Donalds, who's Trump's guy running.
Byron Donalds.
And then you got DeSantis' wife, who's, thanks to the Tampa Bay Times, they're doing an incredible that whole Florida scandal is going to be a
You
mess.
can just run an R. Whatever the R is, can a Democrat beat the letter R? That's
I think the reason the Republicans beat Democrats many years ago when I was Bob Graham's guy was because the Democrats fought and they killed each other, and then the Republicans had that in.
And we're still fighting.
We're still fighting. So
well, Fred in Michigan has an idea. He's got the blueprint for the Democrats. Fred, thank you for calling all the way from Michigan. What are your ideas?
I love your commentaries and your discussion because Florida kind of sets a standard for a lot of the Republicans and the MAGA group throughout our country. So, what happens there matters and spreads throughout the country. But I wonder what you guys think of Alyssa Slotkin. She gave the Democratic response in the State of the Union. And she does a weekly broadcast where she talks about the new plan for the Democrats, and part of her big message is to kill the sacred cows that have been the Democratic platform, to get rid of some of the, commentaries and certainly the old guard where we get hooked up on our same old tropes and socialism. I understand it, but really, if you look at socialist system, the Veterans Administration is the social system in our country, owned by the government, run by the government, and it meets the definition of a socialist program.
Well, Fred, that's and thank you for calling. I think that certainly we're talking about branding. So our system is a socialist system. We just don't call it that. We call it Medicaid. We call it, that Lyndon Johnson's entire program is socialism, right? So we just don't call it that because we try not to be stupid and say, hey, this is, but it is.
Right.
So as far as the branding part, yeah. Now, as far as getting rid of the old guard, I think that's generally usually up to the voters. But I don't necessarily agree with just getting rid of people for the sake of getting rid of them. Youth is no indicator that you have better ideas. Now, certainly you want new ideas, and what we're doing is not working right now. But Patrick, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I don't know the young lady he was talking about. I'll have to look her up and see what her recommendations are. But we're always going to be the party of Social Security. We're always going to be the party of the social safety net. And the working people used to look at that as what they needed.
Right.
I think sometimes, though, the working class sometimes doesn't really have a good focus on what really is their needs also. And so, sometimes they get confused over, well, maybe we want to control our what we're spending our retirement money on and things like that. Like somehow they're going to play the game better than the big boys on Wall Street. But, I think if we get back to our basics and find the points we can agree on, I think that we have gone down some odd pathways. The arguments over transgender rights here in the state of Florida has linked the party to that issue as being a major issue in the party, and it's not a major issue. It's an issue.
Right.
Gay rights is an issue, but isn't the only issue in the party, and sometimes these things have been taken over as our only issues.
Right. And I tell you the truth, I was in Hollywood for the Florida Democratic Party gala weekend we had, and Andy,
what
the
were
governor
they celebrating down there?
Well, I took governor.
Well, it was the Democratic Party in the state of Florida celebrating.
Well, I tell you what, I was able to. One guy that is you talk about looking for a model of how we can win. Governor Beshear from Kentucky, in a very red state where Mitch McConnell's been, and Trump won by 30 points. This guy's a Democratic governor of Kentucky, and if you listen to his message, he's got the message for Democrats to win, which is not shy away from all these issues, not shy away from LGBT rights and other things that help people. Another guy, this guy that just called in, I love Pritzker. Pritzker's a billionaire owner, a family owner of the Hyatt Hotel chain, and he just tells it like it is. He's a straight shooter, straight talker.
A straight shooter who's a billionaire. What does that sound like?
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Republicans, we're the rich. We're the party of the rich. But, we have guys out there. I even like the governor of California. I just think Gavin Newsom is a little bit too liberal. for a national stage.
Even if he is, or it's the perception that he is. So, gentlemen, we got about a minute and 15 seconds left. So next Friday is going to be the 4th of July. I will be in New Jersey celebrating with family. But what do you got on the horizon, Patrick? How's your 4th of July going to look?
I'll be cooking 2 grills worth of ribs and chicken barbecue. It'll be fantastic. And I will be going into the pool occasionally to cool off so I don't melt over those hot grills. That's been my tradition since 1988.
Yeah.
I mean, 1998. And before that, it was going to the beach. Somehow the 4th of July, to me, in the state of Florida, means getting in some water somewhere and cooling off.
I've been to many 4th of July celebrations at Patrick's house, and one of the highlights is the cooking of kibasi, or kielbasa, however you say it. He'll chop it up, put little toothpicks on it, walk around the pool, and everyone gets a little bit of pool meat snacks.
And Patrick is an amazing chef.
All right, Victor, you got 20 seconds.
Well, as a kid growing up in Tampa, the minute summertime came, and even July 4th, we'd head to the beach. I mean, we'd get a little tiny cottage with no air conditioning, and grandma and great-grandma was there, and they'd cook, and we eat and watch fireworks.
All right. I am Gene Suited. We are here with Patrick Rantega and Victor DeMaio. Thank you so much for listening.